Hello everybody, my name is Rory and here is Philip.
Hello.
And welcome to the first of a new series of vid/podcasts. And in our first episode, we're going to talk about depression.
Yes, we are.
Now, first of all, I think we need to clear up a few things about the general usage of the underhanging phrase depression. I'm pretty sure you've spelt that wrong.
What, underhanging?
Yeah.
It's under and hanging.
I'm sure it needs a hyphen.
Well, then it would be a compound adjective.
It is a compound adjective.
Well,
though,
I've just
but
made it
it's-
into a compound adjective. Yeah, we scripted the beginning of this, but it's rapidly falling off.
Right, go on.
Okay, so let's begin by discriminating between a low mood and depression. The two different things. We're not talking about when you get up in the wrong side of bed in the morning or you have spells of feeling down for a few days, and even I'm guilty of this, seeing something you don't like and saying, oh, that's depressing. Rory, tell me, what is depression?
Well, there are a few types of depression. There's clinical, there's psychological, and then there is emotional. Now, clinical is when you need help from outside mediums, things like you need tablets and medication and people supporting you through things. Emotional, you generally need reassurance and help and people telling you what things are. Psychological depression is when you can't verbalize or say something, but it's all in your head, and it is. I'm not trying to say that it is just in your head if you've got psychological depression, because it's not. But it is just something that makes you feel that you don't belong where you are, and it's a sense of being lost, I would say, is the best description of psychological.
A lot of people have this discrimination, this idea that in their head that depression is this thing that you can go through and something that you'll grow out of, or you can snap out of, or somebody's depressed because they're not trying not to be. And this worries me because it's not true. There is, like you say, there's different types of depression. One that is more medically recognised as being called situational depression.
Yes.
Where I think I've just skipped a load. I'm going to go down to the
You have
bottom.
gone through too much information.
Never mind. Okay.
It's a short-term feeling, depression. It's ones that generally, they'll come and go with things that happen.
Yeah,
Such
and
as
I don't want
the
to
loss of a
trivialise.
loved one. It's not trivialised because a lot of people can suffer from this very easily and very quickly.
You're most likely to suffer from this, if anything.
It can come in big amounts, and anyone can suffer from this. They won't even know they're doing it because they feel they're too strong or they're too proud to say that they are suffering too hard from the emotions they're feeling.
So let's start with the
Biggest one.
The biggest one, the biggest issue that
The one
people
that
have
the
most
one that
problems
is
with.
recognised by most people.
Yeah, if you say depression, this is what people immediately think of and just assume that this is all depression is.
It's the one the media focuses on. It's the one that everyone goes, depression. Yes, it's
the extreme.
Yeah.
What is it?
So, clinical depression is a mild, moderate to severe depression where you will have strong low moods, low self-esteem, impaired concentrations and indecisiveness. You get things like inabilities to feel pleasure. You get feelings of worthlessness and agitation, and at worst, thoughts of suicide, death, and self-harm.
They're all interesting mental points. They are all very valid, but it also manifests itself physically in ways that other people can see more directly. Because there's always ways to cover up these things. You know, inability to feel pleasure. You can pretend to enjoy things. People do that. Feelings of worthlessness. You can feign self-importance.
It's quite easy for somebody who has depression, who's not showing it physically, but is mentally showing, to hide and disguise it. And I've known a few people who have done this, and watching them tear themselves apart because they won't go for help, because they feel they're not worth it. And that is just, it's horrible. And the fact that society has put such a stigma on depression that they feel they can't go and get help, it's horrible. I can't think of any other word to describe it. And if they show physical developments, a lot of the time it can be misdiagnosed by doctors unless they'll admit to the mental.
So how does it show itself physically then?
So physically, it's generally with being tired, loss of energy, not feeling up to something. Some people have insomnia or hypersomnia. For those of you who don't know, that's one is sleeping too much and one is sleeping not enough. There can be sleep disruption, like waking up at 3 a.m.
Waking up at regular intervals during the night.
Yeah. Significant weight loss or gain, like people comfort eat, people don't eat when they're sad, things like that.
Or people overeat.
A loss of a libido. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know what this word meant.
You didn't? Okay.
So I had to Google it.
And what came up on your search results?
I'd rather just ask you what it means.
It's most commonly associated with sex drive.
Yeah.
And the bottom one that I think that you will have a lot more experience than me. He can read it.
So the last one of the physical is a disrupted menstrual cycle. Now, this will only affect mostly women, but it can sometimes fall over into men with the man periods. Now, these aren't real issues. They're all in your head, to be honest, and it is something that comes with an emotional drain in your mind.
Well, I'm going to be a biologist here and say that there is evidence to show that men do go through 31-day cycles of hormonal changes, so there is such thing as a man period.
But they can generally be mostly due low moods or extreme of something, can't they?
Yeah.
So
these things all happen and they affect you and they begin to affect those around you and they begin to impact your everyday life. You can't lead a normal life properly. You start not doing very well in work, you drop behind in school, you don't feel the desire to take part in any more social activities. You want to stay inside and just cuddle up with something, it doesn't matter what. Deliberately avoiding contact with friends it's the very worst thing you can possibly do, but it makes you want to do that. Neglecting responsibilities is another thing. You want to sit inside all day and stay close to something that makes you feel comfortable, which could be food, it could be the TV, it could be the bed, just closed in with only yourself to worry about. And it can lead to tremendous difficulties in home, family and social life. Things that I know I've experienced firsthand. Depression, people who have been suffering from depression, people who don't understand it properly. Enforcing their idea of what it is, because everybody's got this world view of how things work, and as soon as something changes in that, they're not very happy about it, and they start imposing their world view on other people, and that is how arguments begin. People don't want to open up, they don't want to change the way they understand things. So somebody with depression is approached by somebody who doesn't have it, who doesn't understand it, and person B says, oh, well, you need to snap out of it, you're not trying hard enough. And that doesn't help. And I don't know if they don't know that they're not helping, but they're really not helping by saying this.
In my personal experience, I had a long time where I did suffer from depression. And I found that the people who understood me most were those who have been through it, or those who have seen family members going through it. And this is the thing we need society to notice, is that it isn't something that you can hide, is it?
No.
Nobody can hide it.
Not for long.
You feel like you can, and you feel like you're pretending and faking to be this amazing person, and all this good stuff is happening, and you pretend you're doing great, but someone will notice. Somebody will notice. And it's generally the people who did the exact same thing because they were feeling the exact same way.
The people that have already experienced it. The people that know what to look for. The people that understand the signs. They understand the not wanting to eat, not wanting to sleep, sleeping too much. The mood swings that can just come about rapidly and for no apparent reason. The suddenly being happy and jolly for no apparent reason, or breaking down into tears because you had lost a flea. I don't know. Flea? That was a really bad analogy.
Now, one thing that I've always noticed with people who suffer from depression is that some people think depression means that you are sad all the time. And it's not.
It's part of it.
Yes, they have extreme emotions of being sad most of the time, yes.
It can be part.
Just because you have depression doesn't mean you won't smile. It won't mean you won't be having fun with your friends. It won't mean that you're doing... It just impacts you mentally and physically to a point where you start feeling you don't deserve to be there. You don't feel like you want to go out with your friends anymore. You really don't feel you're comfortable doing this, that, and the other that you were fine doing months ago. And it's more of a slow burn than it is something that just goes, boom, you've got it. It builds up, and it all really, it's just not good to be that person who feels you're being left out the group. And half the time, you're not being left out, and you're just feeling that you are, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. It's the self-exclusion that's probably the worst part. The feeling that you don't want to. You don't deserve what you've got.
I can honestly say that people have always thought that depression is hard to deal with. And they all say, oh, you'll get through it. It gets better in time.
It'll go away.
I'm going to be honest. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. You just learn to deal with it. You learn how to cope with it better. And eventually, yes, it'll feel like you're fine, you're better. But a lot of people who suffer from depression, when they get better, it's because they've learned how to cope with themselves. Not because of what other people have done for them, but because they've learned how to cope with themselves. Shall we move on to what pop culture feels about?
We shall. This is something that I included because I think it's becoming a very prevalent thing in everyday society.
Reading it now, I can see exactly what you're meaning.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. That's very good. I think that depression has been created. Well, it hasn't been created. It's always existed. We have coined a name for it within the past 120 years. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very good thing. You know, being able to help people by attaching a term to it is a great thing. But it's being almost advertised by media and being turned into this thing which is actually alluring. It's an attractive quality to have. You might not realise it because you don't notice it. But if you look at something like the Twilight Saga, the main character, I don't know his name, one of these characters has depression and copes with depression all the way through. And that's what it is. That's what she's doing. She, I really don't know. I don't watch. She. But this idea that it's become an attractive quality, and that's not a good thing because then people begin to aspire to it and they are alluded to this and they want this. This will make me a better person. That's not true. And they don't know it. They don't go, oh, I'm going to be depressed now. That's not a choice they make. That's something which feeds into their subconscious. They can't do anything about that. It's being fed into them. They're literally being spoon-fed this idea that depression is an attractive quality.
Depression is an issue in mental well-being. And if you are suffering from depression, you do not want somebody to come up to you and say, oh, that's cool. Do you really?
No.
That's not something you want. Depression sucks the life out of you when you're dealing with it, and that is really not something most people want someone to go, oh, I want that, or do you feel that some people want it? And yes, that you can end up with a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're just attention seeking. Oh, you're just doing it." A lot of the time, the people you're saying that to are probably the ones actually suffering. Because a lot of depression, a lot of people with depression in popular culture right now, they're the people who have come forward and said, "Yes, I'm suffering from this. Yes, I'm taking a step back and everyone's gone, "Oh, they just wanted the media's coverage on it," and that's not right. Right, shall we move on to treatments? Because this is I'm reading this now and I just...
This is what interests me. This is something that I came up with the other day. I didn't research this bit. I just ended up bashing the keyboard until this happened. But I'm a biology student. I don't claim to be a biologist. I'm a biology student. And this became apparent to me while I was doing some research that a lot of the time depression is being, I don't want to say misdiagnosed, but it's being mistreated. It is being misdiagnosed. People are suffering from what is known as situational depression, which is, okay, let's do some statistics. 1 in 4 people, not 4 in 1, 4 in 1 people, that's something else entirely.
Oh God.
1 in 4 people on the planet are said to suffer from depression at some point during their life. 7 out of 10 of those are going to be situational depression, and the rest are going to be more, I don't want to say more severe because that makes it sound trivial, but I'll use that
an extended period of time.
For an extended period of time that needs more serious help in terms of medical help on a long-term basis, but it's being mistreated. It's being seen as situational depression, or it's not being seen as what it is. And so either lazy doctors or pharmaceutical companies who are only interested in making profit will hand out medication which treats the symptoms, and it makes the symptoms of depression go away,
but it doesn't treat the cause.
But it doesn't tackle the underlying cause of the depression, so the depression never goes away. It just sits there being unexpressed because the symptoms are being subjudicated.
Now, I can honestly say I have known what antidepressants do to people. I know from personal experience what antidepressants do to people. And it's not something you want to be on for long. It's not something you want to get put on. And I'm speaking from experience from a personal member in my family who was put on antidepressants when they were quite young and has been on them now for nearly 12 years. And his mood changes dramatically if he misses one day. Just one day. Because he's been on them that long that they have become a dependency for his mood instead of it being what it should be, which is some way of dealing and combating the emotional backlash you get in your head. And that is really a good sign of when something could be misdiagnosed or mistreated, I would say is the better term. And you are right with the treatment of symptoms, because in his head he's fine when he's on the tablets. The second he comes off them, they come back.
The medication makes the symptoms go away. So in your head, oh, the symptoms aren't there, so
I'm fine.
So I'm fine. It's like an infection. I've got the flu. If I don't have any symptoms, I mustn't have the flu. That's not true. You just can't tell. It's still in you. There's still a problem. There's still something wrong. You just don't know it anymore. So you stop taking the medication because clearly there's nothing wrong with you anymore. But then it comes back, and it comes back worse because it's been treated a little bit.
It comes back much worse because your body has said, the symptoms are gone now. But then you wake up one day and suddenly it's there again.
So you start taking the medication again to make it go away again, and it comes back, and it goes away again. So you stop taking it, and it's this negative feedback loop that makes things worse, which is what can bridge people between situational depression and clinical depression. So you take something that's not as bad as it ought to be, and instead of the situation being resolved and somebody's life being made better and they go on to live a happy life, they get thrown off this cliff of abandonment into a pit of I'm going to stop using metaphors.
I like to compare it to NASCAR. Now, NASCAR is a massive oval circuit where cars drive round and round and round. And as long as the person with depression will be on the medication, treating the symptoms, they can go round and round for days. The second they come off, their wheel starts to wobble and they decide you've got to stop in the pits. And then they stop in the pits, they check the damage, they check what's up with it, and then slowly you will feel worse and worse and worse. So you have to go back on the meds, i.e. replacing the tyre. And then you can go back out and you can go round and round and round again until the next time you need to come in. And that's not something you want to get stuck in. You don't want to be an endless loop. Unless you're a NASCAR racer. Then drive on, because NASCAR's cool.
Okay, so what can... We talked a lot about what doesn't help and what you shouldn't do, but what can you do to help people?
So, what you can do is, if you're having a low mood or you're feeling down on that particular day and you're feeling to yourself that you can't do it, the first thing you really should do is talk to friends, family, anyone who you feel comfortable and trustworthy of. And I know it's quite difficult sometimes to trust some people, but from personal experience with Philip, he's the person I would trust. And that's because he's such a good friend to me. And so if I was to take step one, I'd go to Philip. Now, other people obviously are a bit different. They might want to talk to family because they might be close to them. Like, say, if you have a sibling who you're near, or you feel close to your parents, your mother, your dad, or whatever. But you can also call helplines. Now,
that sounds a little bit unnerving, actually.
It does.
Completely anonymous phone lines.
They are completely anonymous. They won't take your name. They won't take any information.
They're not premium rated either.
And they're free.
Clock. They're completely free. Set up by charities who just help, and they're just there as someone to chat to. You can just phone them up and say, I'm having a bad day, I want to chat about it. And they'll say, okay, talk about it. Because that's what they do. And if you don't really fancy talking on the phone, because I know I have difficulty talking to people on the phone, so
there is an online chat option as well.
You can chat to them like you're on Facebook to someone.
We will tell you the names and their numbers, but you can also go online and Google their names, and you'll be able to find the links to the online chats.
I feel like
and they're completely anonymous and safe. So, if you're under 18, you can go to Childline, and they will let you talk about anything. Whether it's they talk about everything, don't they?
Yeah.
From family abuse to things like low self-esteem, low moods, low depression, everything. And you can contact them on 0800 111 or go online.
And it's nothing to be embarrassed about either.
No, it's all safe, confidential, anonymous. There ain't nothing you can be scared about with that.
And if you're over 18, I suppose someone at Childline wouldn't just hang up on you.
No,
if you said,
they wouldn't.
I'm over
They'd
18.
probably pass you through to them.
But there is another similar helpline with Samaritans, which is on 116123 and also online. Just type it into Google, Yahoo, whatever you like. They're there to help. They've been put there to help people, and they're just waiting to help you. Maybe they can help you. Maybe they can help someone you know. They're not there to judge. They're not there to provide their opinion. They're just there to listen. They're there to be a friend. They're there to help. It would be sacrilege not to accept that help.
They're paid by charity and society. They don't take money from people. They don't claim anything off you. You don't even have to pay for the service. It's all government funded charity lottery money, and they're
tax free.
They're sat there to listen and take in all your information. Now, I know sometimes that can be very scary. To even going online can be quite scary to talk to people like this. So you can always contact your local GP if you're feeling that these moods are constant, and they can help a lot. They can refer you to psychologists, they can refer you to counselling, they can prescribe you medication if you really need it. But taking from personal note from my local GP, they're very hesitant to give out antidepressants at the moment because so many people from the past have taken a dependency to it.
GP is a good one, actually. Proper medical doctor with years of experience and someone who knows what they're on about and someone who is only interested in doing the best for you.
They're paid generally by either the NHS or, if you're private, by whoever's paying your medical bill.
Or if you're in America.
Because you're paying for yourself. Followers. But basically, if you go to your local GP, which means general practitioner for those of in America, you will find that they will be more looking out for you than they are for money most of the time.
So what can you do to help someone who has depressions? What can you do in everyday society? This is where the script runs out. So
yes, this is where the script runs out.
We're going to have to ad-lib. I've got a little metaphor to read later.
You do.
But I want to talk, like, I know what, if Rory's having a bad day, I know you have mood swings.
Yes,
and if the very worst thing I can do is go up to you and face you about it, especially if it's in public.
Yes.
If we're at home, I can talk to you about it and we can have a chat, and if you don't want to chat, that's fine. And if you want to chat, hooray, we'll have some tea, we'll do a thing. But the very worst thing you can do is force someone to talk about it. You might think like you're trying to help, but sometimes all someone needs is not for you to fix them. Sometimes people don't need you to fix them. They just need you to be there. Just let them know that you're there for them.
You see, now, when Phil comes to me to help me, generally we don't even talk about what's bothering me or what's on my mind that day. He just literally brings in a teapot and we drink tea, we chat about his day, things that are going on in general, things we're doing together, the YouTube channel, things like that. And that helps more than if he walks up to me and said, so what the bloody hell's going on?
I can literally turn up to his house at 10 o'clock at night with my laptop and say, we're going to play games.
And I'd be happy.
And that helps.
But you see, that's the thing. It's little things that you need to do for people suffering from depression. You don't want... If they want to open up to you about it, then let them. But if they don't want to, just be there. Being there is the best thing for someone suffering from depression, because depression makes you feel like you're isolated. So being there will really help someone.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope that you can take something away from this. We hope that...
We hope you could help.
We hope you can help. You can get help. You can be helped.
We've helped you understand better, and I think Philip is going to read us out with a...
I have some verse here written by a friend of mine on the topic of depression. I said, what is it to you? Like, if you were to describe it in a metaphor, something that somebody else can understand, what would you say? Just clear the throat. Imagine that you stand at the top of a black pit. You can't see the bottom of it. But it doesn't matter because you're not inside it. That's before you experience depression. The moment it begins is when something, and you might or might not know what it is, something makes you fall into the pit. The fall can be sudden, happen in an instant, or slow, over days, weeks. But you feel every second pass by as it happens. Then when you hit the bottom, you're cut and bruised. Your body is aching inside and out. You can see the light at the top of the pit, and a little sky. But when you try and climb out, your hands are shredded by thorns, and the ground is too steep and slippery to climb out. You are stuck in, and there's no way out. At night, when it's pitch black, you lose any hope of escape. It's a purgatorial standstill. The worst part for me is in the morning. It's bright and you can see the blue sky outside your pit. Your body is aching and you're still exhausted. At the top you can hear laughter and chatter as the people you know peer over the edge, looking down into the pit. You call out for them to help you climb out, but they don't hear or see you. They just see the pit. Some stare at it with fascination or worry, and some are just repulsed and turn away. Even if someone was able to see you, they can't pull you out. You yourself have to go through the agony of pulling yourself back out, whether you tear your hands to ribbons or if you survive unscathed. It's only something you can do. And when you've conquered it, you'll know how to escape. It will be tough, but when you fall into the pit again, you know what needs to be done. I'm suffering from a horrible case of the heebie-jeebies. But this is it. This is what it is.
I don't think anyone's ever described it so well.
I hope that you now have a better understanding of what depression is. I hope that this video can help you. I hope it can help the people you know. I hope we can help everyone.
I hope it reaches everyone.
This is for everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Do you need a hug right now?